I am Jim Collison, and live from our home studios around the world, this is Gallup's Theme Thursday, Season 6, recorded on April 2nd, 2020. Theme Thursday is a Gallup webcast series that dives deep into the CliftonStrengths themes, one theme at a time, and this season based on developing teams and managers with CliftonStrengths. And today's theme is competition. If you're listening live, we'd love to have you join us in our chat room. There's actually a link for it right above there. It'll take you to a YouTube page where there's a chat room. Log in. I'd love to have you there. If you're listening after the fact, send us an email, coaching@gallup.com. Don't forget, if you're listening on YouTube, Michael will point to it. There's a little subscription button down there. You can click on that, and that'll subscribe you to our live page. Get a notification every time we go live. Might be helpful to you. And if you're going to do what all the cool kids do and listen as a podcast, any podcast app, anywhere, just search Gallup Webcasts. You will find Theme Thursday there. Micah Librant is our host today. Micah is a workplace consultant, works with me here at Gallup. Micah, always great to see you. Welcome back to Theme Thursday.
Great to be here, Jim. As you said, this season we're exploring each theme through the lens of managers and teams. And we know from our studies in leadership that strong teams have 5 things going for them. If you want to read more about these 5, they come from the book Strengths-Based Leadership. We are going to use these as jumping points to unpack the theme today of competition. And really the goal of our season is to help you understand your team as more than just those 4 domains of executing, influencing, relationship building, and strategic thinking. So at the end of our time together today, I hope you can look at somebody with competition on your team, and instead of saying, oh, that means they're an influencer, you can really dive in and understand how competition influences. So the short definition here of competition: you measure your progress against the performance of others. You strive to win first place and revel in contests. The first truth, I can dive in here, sorry. The first truth of a strong team is conflict doesn't destroy them, because strong teams focus on results.
I think it's really important as we think about competition. This is one of those that brings conflict. And I think a lot of folks oftentimes misunderstand that conflict. And so it's going to be really important as we think about this theme and conflict. What does it mean to focus on results, Micah?
Yeah, and I would say, competition as we understand it as a colloquialism or as a larger society can sound like something that brings conflict. Having somebody with strong competition doesn't necessarily equal conflict. And you'll understand that a whole lot better as we go through this. But really that focus on results for somebody with competition, it means that they are measuring success relative to the results of others. So you could see in that way that, wow, I want to win over everybody else. That could cause some conflict. But when you look further into the truth of strong teams, it really is about how a person might contribute to the results of their team together, rather than stumble on any internal or intra-team conflict. So what someone with competition can bring to your team in terms of results, they can help the entire group look at progress through the lens of comparison. And that I also think leads to through the lens of relevance. So they can say, hey, we might each be running a race against each other, but here's how our competitors are doing and how we're stacking up as a team, as an industry, as an organization against others who are also in the arena.
How else does or how does competition track progress?
Progress for someone with competition is about keeping score. And that's because they're constantly aiming for improvement and winning through comparison. So they'll keep their eye not just on their own personal record. That's probably more of an achiever piece of, did I do better than I did previously? Instead, they'll also look at, how am I doing comparatively to others who are also playing the game?
All right, let's look at number 2.
The second truth of strong teams is that they prioritize what's best for the organization, and then they move forward.
Yeah, I think this is really key. People understand how to do this. So how does someone with competition focus on the larger goal rather than just themselves?
2 ways. First, they're a great supporter of people who are competing. They recognize the effort that it takes, the grit, the hustle that it takes to win, and they enthusiastically cheer people on who throw their hat in the ring. The second way is with clarity on how they can contribute to the performance of the organization against other relative competitors. They can be a driving force to bring people along with them. It's the hey, come on, we can do better than the others. And winning is fun kind of energy. So think of people who inspire action, who inspire hard work when they can bring the team's focus beyond just how they're doing. So they can bring an awareness of how other people in the game, be it competitors within the industry, individual top performers, or really standout contributors, it can help make those contributions internally that in turn help us all perform even better.
What inspires competition to take action?
Something to win, a game, a way to measure their contribution against others. Or another thing that's pretty inspiring is awareness of top performance. So they tend to be inspired by, depending on other themes, could be historical top performers or could be other winners or people really at the top of their game. They have this filter, I think, for noticing really outstanding talent. So if you're thinking about how do I inspire someone with competition, help them know what success looks like. Offer them glimpses into stories of excellence, autobiographies, connections with mentors, podcasts, or even just books about really, I think, high performers is something that's going to be able to mobilize that energy in a great place.
Before we go to number 3, I like that you use the word excellence. I think sometimes when people get stuck on winning, if they replace the word excellence with winning, it makes a lot more sense. They are able to see and find excellence, which oftentimes raises to the top. So maybe a great replacement word, if you're struggling with that winning word, for some people, sometimes that's a struggle, replace it with excellence and see what else happens.
Yeah, both of them have that. What's true about winning and excellence, that's also true about the competition theme, is it's about narrowing your focus and really saying, we're not motivated, or competition is not motivated by what everyone is doing.
Yeah, we spent a bunch of time, and I forget which season, talking about this idea of sorting, right?
Yeah.
And so this idea with excellence of it's the ability to sort that excellence, and that's a very, very powerful talent.
Yeah.
All right, how do we think? Oh, let's do number 3.
Number 3 is members of strong teams are as committed to their personal lives as they are to their work.
Yeah. So how might this show up in someone's personal life?
They typically weigh their interest in an activity against their ability to achieve excellence in that activity. So if they can be a top performer, if they can win, if they can experience what that takes, then they're more likely to begin. Or if they realize they can't win, they'll do well with the explicit declaration of being an onlooker or a supporter rather than being a contributor or a competitor. They may enjoy activities where progress is measured. They might especially enjoy that if it's measured against others. Personal records are probably gauged against other people more than against their own previous performance.
What questions might a manager ask to kind of draw this out of them?
Yeah, you could say, what are you tracking? Where are you currently top of your game? Where are you gaining on top performers? What are you winning today? Who are your role models? Who do you admire? Who are you learning from? Who should our team be cheering on?
Some great manager questions indeed. Number 4.
Strong teams embrace diversity. We know diversity is a big issue. We're not trying to say here that, diversity equals different CliftonStrengths themes, but we do know that having a team composed of individuals who look at issues similarly, who've been the product of comparable backgrounds, and who have experience with similar track records and approaches is not a sound basis for success.
What are a few descriptor words that we might use with competition?
Yeah, for somebody with high competition, you might hear these things being said about them and hear, oh, wow, I can spot that. It's a great talent of competition. You might hear that they're focused, relevant, competitive, connected, inspired, success-oriented.
I'm seeing a lot of this in the chat room right now, but when we think about the unique perspective that competition brings to a team, what would you say?
I would say, and this is interesting because there's a lot of energy and a lot of emotion about it. So I'm calling it an enthusiastic, but almost dispassionate approach to winning. Part of what competition can do is take the emotion out of the energy and into the performance. So by focusing on the score, they can narrow their energy towards something. So it doesn't have to be about all the waves of emotion that we get as we're moving towards something. It can really be about, let's just focus on how we win. Yeah. And that can be hugely powerful for a team. Jim, what
Also,
did you want to add there?
well, also thinking that the maturity level in this is when high competition wants to win for the team's sake and not just their own. There was a comment about sore losers, and that may just be an underdeveloped talent as we think, or the not as mature. I'm struggling with the words a little bit here, but you
Yeah,
know,
let's also figure out like what whose lens is calling them a sore loser
yeah,
and what is the
true,
impact, right?
yeah,
Is it are we trying to manage um emotion because it's bothering us or because it's causing a problem? And are we trying to I think it's important to realize that you can't mask Clifton Strengths themes with poor behavior. If there actually is poor behavior happening, it's not the fault of the theme. it's
well,
it's something that needs to be addressed by the human.
well said. All right, let's look at let's look at. That's what I was trying to say. Number five.
I'll just say it. Yeah, you know what? Another thing is thinking about that unique perspective, and then I'll go to number 5. I think somebody with competition can keep the whole team's heads up.
Hmm.
Rather than getting stuck looking down at, how did we do last year? How did we do? How are we doing together? They can really help us evaluate how are we doing, relative to other players in the game. I'm reminded of a kindergarten teacher I coached once who had high competition, and she said, I accomplished what at the beginning of the year I thought my children needed to understand. I helped them develop to these milestones, but I was the only person on my team of teachers who realized they were really trailing when we compared them to other schools in our district. And that's something that I think is beautiful about competition is that ability to say, we can set our own goals, but we should also be comparing those goals against the highest performance. Because that's how we move forward. That's how we make the difference that we need to make.
Yeah, that's sorting. So
Yeah.
number 5.
Number 5, strong teams are magnets for talent. This is probably an outcome of the other 4 going really well, but it's really about how do you find that team that everybody wants to be a part of?
And what is it? What will others be attracted to with competition?
The celebration when they experience a win, especially a shared win. Gosh, it's intoxicating when you've got somebody with high competition who experiences a win. Their ability to celebrate other hard workers and champions, I think, can lead to resilience among a team. Nothing hurts when you win. If you're somebody with high competition, and they can bring that kind of a stamina, that energy, that hustle that keeps them going beyond when others might have given up. It's also, I think, an acceptance of discomfort that because they know that is part of the journey toward what it takes to be top of your game.
Describe.
So that's powerful.
It is indeed. And describe that gift then that gift competition brings to a team that others will really want more of.
Powerfully and tirelessly working toward excellence. They often bring others along with them who wouldn't be explicitly up for the challenge of winning or competing, simply because they create kind of a forward wake, a motion that other people want to be a part of. As we've been going, I've been interchanging the word winning with the word excellence, but I want to be careful that we don't go too far to defining a different theme just because people don't like the word win. It sounds a little bit like maximizer too. It's that ability to say, what, we can do better. We can be more polished. I can add that sort of extra level of shine that brings us to excellence. And that really is a maximizer trait.
Mm-hmm.
It's what's true about competition is the comparison to other people.
Yeah. No, right on. I think a good explanation. Let's review the 5 again.
Results, not conflict. Do what's best for the organization and then get going. Work and personal lives, both equally important. They embrace diversity and they're magnets for talent. So you might think about those 5 as some great starting points to evaluate your own team or to help a manager evaluate their team. And really don't just say, where are we strong, where are we struggling, but say, where are we strong and why are we strong? And how can we borrow from that to lead to some of the other truths that maybe we're aiming for?
We've been spending this season, as well as season 5, wrapping up the podcast with this idea of a talent mindfulness exercise. Micah, lead us through this one.
So our talents describe our best lane, our strongest opportunity to contribute really at our highest level, to perform. One way we often describe these patterns of feeling and thought and behavior is to pay attention to what we're doing when we experience 3 things: ease, excellence, and enjoyment. These are different than Gallup's 5 clues to talent, but I think they're a really nice way to sort of spend some time in that area. Today, we're going to unfold these 3 E's for yourself. This is about you. This is not about you unfolding competition any farther. So, talent mindfulness will take about 3 to 5 minutes, and it's meant to just be a practice for your own talent. Maybe if it helps, I'd like you to do something that will help you focus on your own experience. That could be taking a deep breath, closing your eyes, looking into a mirror, or just turning up the volume on this podcast and drowning out everything else. I'll give you a few seconds to turn your focus inward. Whatever you've done in the past week, one thing is true. It was part of your one precious life. Maybe you had huge wins. Maybe you had significant setbacks. Maybe it was just like any other week. Maybe it wasn't. Today, we're going to focus on that week because it was real. In the past week, what came easy for you? Asked another way, when did you know the answer without having to slow down? Did you have clarity? Again, in the past week, what did you do better than others? Asked another way, what might a coworker, a friend, or a family member say you did especially well? In the past week, when did you experience a moment of joy? Now refine that one to think about something you contributed to that moment of joy. Asked another way, what about the past week would you go back and repeat again simply because it was fun? Now, holding these reflection ideas in your head, let's think about how you'll navigate the week that you have ahead of you. In the next week, what will you do more of on purpose? What will you make time for? What will you offer to someone else? That's it. That's your talent mindfulness for today.
There we go. Well, I won't do that again next week to do it better. As we think about this, Mike, I'm inclined to think as you were going through this exercise, I'm just inclined to think during these really stressful times, we really need to slow down a little bit and think through just our actions a little bit clearer. The other day I was doing some things. I was just making a ton of mistakes and I was just going too fast. Like for me, I just needed to slow down a little bit and think. And so as people are thinking about these times, we've got these talent mindfulness exercises for you at the end of these podcasts to help with that. So just slow down a little bit for you, figure out what that needs to be. But Mike, I find them very, very helpful. I mentioned this before. Somebody, I get these questions. How's your woo doing? Like, how are you? Like we've all, no, I shouldn't say we all, many of us have come home and they always feel like this is it's killing the woos. And I'm like, are you kidding me? I've never been busier and it's never been better. And I'm never getting more communication and the ability to do this. What am I going to do more of next week? This. Like we're going to do more of this. So excited to do that for everybody that's out there. With that, we'll remind everyone to take full advantages of all the resources we have available now in Gallup Access. So head out there. The easiest way to get that, gallup.com/CliftonStrengths. Sign in there. That'll take you right to your strengths dashboard. Lots of resources available on that page, including all of our podcasts. And so if you want to subscribe to those, just go to any podcast platform and search Gallup Webcast. You'll see a bunch of ours there. By the way, we have Called to Coach in German now, just got accepted into the iTunes. And in fact, Ralph, who's in the chat room, recognize him, was our very first interview on that. Now available in iTunes. So I think that somehow makes it official. Apple Podcasts is what they call it actually now. iTunes is the old name. So we'd love to have you subscribe to us as a podcast. If you want to get access to, we actually have a Clifton Strengths community newsletter that comes out each month as well. Available at the bottom of our site. You can sign up to subscribe to that and get that delivered to your inbox every single week. If you have any questions at all, you can send us an email, coaching@gallup.com. You can also sign up for these webcasts to make sure you're here live. We have a page to do that as well. Gallup.eventbrite.com is the site you would go to. Just make an account, follow us, and I'll send you a notification every time we launch something new. Mike, I think I have about 35 or 40 future webcasts out there right now, so folks can sign up for them.
So much good stuff coming.
Yeah, it's actually I look at it and it just looks beautiful. We've got some great artwork and we've really
this Google Doc that we have and just frames it on the wall just to look at.
No, actually I like the Eventbrite page. It looks a whole lot better. We want to have you join us in our social groups, facebook.com/groups/called-to-coach. That will get you there as well. And then search Clifton Strengths Trained Coaches on LinkedIn. We want to thank you for joining us live. If you're listening on the podcast, I bet there's another one available for you. If you're listening live, stay around for a little bit of a post show. With that, we'll say goodbye, everybody.